I've gathered you here today to talk about the FX6. I bought the FX6 for 3 reasons: ergonomics, button customization, and the variable ND. And I'm going to sell it for 2 reasons, but we'll get to those later. Yeah, it's pretty sick, dude. Like, it ain't bad. It's got little knobbies. Ooh. Just that satisfying clicks. I don't feel like putting my other microphone on, so you're just getting the little lav mic ASMR. It's gonna be a new trend. Lav mics ASMR. So let's talk about ergonomics. They're ridiculous. You're not gonna have to file any complaints to HR. You're not gonna have to get a new keyboard and lifty desk. Ooh, oh God. Side handle is absolutely insane. Top handle is just very useful and very sturdy, easy to take on and off. Ergonomics are a 10 out of 10. If you handheld shoot at all, pretty much, this is going to change your life. It's fantastic. Buttons. There's got to be 600 buttons on this freaking camera. You know, let me show you how I customized them. So these are what I have my assignable buttons set to. Button number 2, did picture cache recording. Silly helpful if you've got any event coverage, really. So the way I was using it was like, you know, if a rider was coming and I didn't know when they were going to be coming down the hill, slap this sucker right on a tripod, press number 2 to turn on picture cache recording, and then as long as I'm framed up, that rider could ride completely past me, and then I could hit the record button, and I'd still get the shot. I mean, you could literally hand this camera to a child, and they would still get the shot, so that's not bad. I did also change number 9 on the monitor, and that's to get me to my direct menu, so I can change things like my shutter angle. If I'm doing slow motion, I usually crank that down, or I can change my auto exposure. There's so many ways to use the variable ND filter on this thing. You can do tiny incremental changes if you take it out of auto mode with this little scroll wheel. You could also put it into steps, so presets. If you find yourself in a controlled environment and you want to make sure that you can just stop it up to very specific numbers, you can do that. I kept mine almost exclusively, let's say that 6 times fast, exclusively in auto ND. And then I set my auto exposure to about 1.5 to 1.7 stops overexposed. That way, I just got a really clean image no matter what. Something I did find that was really very frustrating when I first bought the camera was that the variable ND, when you have it set to auto, it's got a box that like takes up the whole screen. So it's taking your auto exposure from your entire scene. So if there's one really bright thing, for me that's the sun, because I'm outside, that's a problem, can't turn that down. It's gonna expose for that, which turned out to be really grainy, noisy shadows, because I'm in the friggin' forest. And mountain biking is not well lit generally. So I had to go in and actually tweak a setting in here, and let me pop in and show you. So this is where I have my detect window set. These are my settings. So custom width 459, 509, height is 0, and position V is 176. And this, when you click on it, shows you where it's at. So from stock, it was getting basically the entire scene, and that was overexposing my image with the variable ND, so I needed to change it. None of these really did it for me. They all kind of went too high. So I made sure to get this little box right here. So when my variable ND was set to the on and auto position, it was really just looking at that section of the screen. for my exposure, which essentially was the bottom half or so of my 16:9 framing. And it worked out incredibly well. Also, you might notice that I've got a little guidelines on my monitor, and that is because, for better or worse, I shoot a lot of reels. But I also want to be able to use that content maybe for YouTube going forward. So I added in little guidelines here. Let me show you how I did that. This is how I adjusted to make this box in the center. Honestly, it was a lot of trial and error, but I found that if I turn my user box on and I have a width of 140 and a height of 269, and then 0, 0 for my H and V position, that is a pretty good framing for your vertical video 16:9. Things that I wish I knew when I first got the camera. It doesn't record audio at 120 frames per second in 4K. That's a big problem. I film mountain biking and the people love their slow motion. And the fact that there's no audio means speed ramping and stuff like that is just gonna be completely silent, and that's not cool. For me, as a person who films not only for Instagram Reels, but also for putting together like mini documentary series and things like that, where audio plays a huge role, not having audio when filming slow motion is a major con about this camera. Two other weird software things I'll show you here. This thing records 4 audio tracks, but when you import it into Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve, you see 8 and on your timeline. That's just a cluster, dude. It's terrible. Yeah, everything's fine when we're in the fast editor here, the cut page. You know, it's whatever. You can scroll through, you can adjust the audio, it's great. The problem is, if you ever need to do anything in the edit panel, you get this. The FX6 has 4 audio channels internally, and for some reason when you import it, it actually shows 8 audio channels in it, which is incredibly frustrating, and that's for every single clip. You have to go in and tweak it so that it doesn't show all of these. So you have to go in individually and remove them or delete them. Not fun. Let me show you how I do that. I would just have to highlight all of them, click delete, and then right click on audio track 3, somewhere around here, and just delete empty tracks. In contrast, Final Cut does not show all 8 audio channels by default. You can enable them if you have stuff recorded to the other 3, but by default it's just got the 1, which is incredibly helpful. Like I can come over here, click on my audio, and it shows them here, but it's got them hidden on the timeline. The chair I'm on does little farts when I spin. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. If you get your footage and you import it into Final Cut or DaVinci or Premiere and you're like, whoa, this looks terrible, it's because those softwares apply a camera look to it on import, and you have to go in and disable that before you can apply your own color grade and make it not look like absolute hot garbage. So by default, they add a little LUT to it. It was shot in log, but this clearly has color and saturation to it, and in fact, like oversaturated quite a bit on some of these colors. In Final Cut, I would find that you'd have to go to the letter I, and then you'd have to go all the way down to basic, because it's only showing basic information, and go to extended. And then there's a camera LUT that gets kind of baked into the MXF wrapper that you have to turn off. Now that that's off, you've got your standard log footage, and you're good to start color grading and editing as you see fit. I told you there were 2 reasons I'm selling it. First reason, it doesn't record audio in 120 frames a second. I need that at this point. I'm making way more narrative stuff, more documentary style, following around athletes, and I need the ability to purpose a clip for slow motion for an Instagram reel, but then also be able to use it at a normal speed with audio for the documentary. There's no way around that. So I need something that records audio in 120p. The second big reason is weight. Honestly, for carrying weight and size of the pack that I need. I'll have a video coming up on how I pack everything into my bag, but getting this in there, 3 lenses, a monitor, batteries, everything like that, and then hiking it up and down a mountain sucks. So that's why I got the FX3. I can carry around 2 FX3 bodies and all of the things that I just mentioned and not be worried about it. See you later, and you know, if anybody wants this, just shoot me a DM. You can have it. Oh! Tricked you. Thought I was going to drop it. You can't drop it with this handle. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. Too good. Literally too good. Bye-bye for now. Hope you learned something. If you didn't, even better.